All right, today we're going to be talking about the dominant seventh chord in root position. In this lesson, we will learn how to spell a dominant seventh chord in multiple keys, learn how to spell an incomplete dominant seventh chord in 3-part harmony or in 4-part harmony where we double the root, and we will learn how to approach and resolve a dominant seventh chord. In Chapter 4, we learned all of our diatonic seventh chords. We also learned that seventh chords are named by their triad and their seventh. So a major seventh chord has a major triad and a major seventh. A major minor seventh chord has a major triad and a minor seventh. So we went through all of our chords in major and minor tonalities, and we found that major tonality has 2 major seventh chords. Minor tonality also has 2, and we went through all of our seventh chords. One thing that we need to remember is that in minor, we do have that raised degree. We have that raised 7th degree because we need C to resolve to La. So we have to raise it. So that affects our 7 chord, and that's going to affect our 5 chord. As we look at these 7th chords, we notice that the only chord that is the same in major and in minor is the 5 chord. The 5 chord in both keys is a major, minor, 7th chord, and it's the most important major, minor, 7th chord in the common period, in the common practice period. So we often just call the major, minor chord the dominant 7th because that's the only major, minor chord we see is the dominant. All right, so let's talk about how to spell it. Again, seventh chords are spelled, are named according to their triad. So this is a major minor chord, so major triad, major third, minor third, and a minor 7th, which makes this a major minor 7th chord. Another way to think about it is to think about the solfege. So I'm looking at my key. I have 0 sharps, 0 flats. That means we're in the key of C major in this case. And once again, this is the dominant 7th chord, so it starts on the dominant of C. The dominant is always sol. So it's going to be sol, ti, re, fa. And we need that T to resolve to do. Alright, so let's try to build this. Once again, I'm looking at my key signature, no sharps, no flats. Let's go ahead and call this C major. So I'm looking for the 5 in C major, and that is going to be G. So to build my dominant 7th, I'm going to need G, B, D, and F. Ta-da! G, B, D, and F. And I mixed it up a little bit because we know if I just stacked them on top, that would have been boring, and it probably would have led to some very difficult voice leading later down the line. All right, let's try another one in major. 3 sharps, that would make it A major. The dominant of A is going to be E. Oh, went a little bit fast, but you can see what we did. E, G, B, and D. Let's try one in minor. 2 flats, B flat major or G minor. The dominant of G, G, B, D is going to be D. Alright, so this is minor. I need to raise the third of my chord so that I can have C. So I'm going to need an F sharp, an A, and a C. So let's see, we have, if my cursor will come back, we have D, F sharp, A, and C. All right, so let's talk about 3 parts or incomplete 4-part. Whenever we're writing in 3 parts, or if we want to omit a chord member, we're usually going to omit the 5th of the chord. Now, sometimes you'll see this with the 3rd omitted. This is less common. Remember, the 3rd is the leading tone, and we really want that leading tone to function. Obviously, we don't want to omit the root, and we really cannot omit the 7th because then it would just be a dominant chord. Now, if you want to take that incomplete 5/7 chord and make it a 4-part, you just double the root. So let's try this. You know what? This time, why don't we start with minor? So for sharps, that would be E major or C sharp minor. So the 5th of C sharp, E, G sharp. So we need G sharp, B sharp. I'm going to omit my D sharp, and but I'm going to make sure that I get my F sharp. So let's see, we have G sharp, B sharp, and F sharp. Now, why don't we go ahead and make this into 4-part harmony? We can leave all these chord members the same, but remember, we want to double the root. So let's put the G sharp way up there in the soprano. Might not be the best example because everybody's pretty much in heaven. Let's try this again. All right, 1 flat. You know what? Let's let this be major. So 1 flat, I know that this is F major. The dominant of F is C. All right, so once again, let's put this in 3-part harmony. Again, we want to leave out the 5th because it's more common to leave out the 5th. So C, E, leave out the G. Make sure you add your B flat. So we have C, E, and B flat. Again, to change this into 4-part harmony, we're just going to double the root. So now we have 2 C's. All right. There is one interval that you should always take note of in your dominant 7th chords, and that is the interval from Fa to T. Let's go back to our T signature. This interval, you will notice, is a tritone. If you look at it from this perspective, it is a flat at 5, or it can be an augmented 4th. But it is a tritone. So we want to make sure we always resolve that tritone. And this is how we resolve it. T is always going to resolve up to Do. Remember, we need that leading tone. T, Do. The other way you want to resolve the tritone is resolve F down to Mi. So, Sol, Ti, Re, Fa, Fa, Mi. You want to make sure Fa resolves down to Mi. All right, so once again, this is the dominant 7th chord, so this is dominant function. So we want to go ahead and resolve it to 1. In our examples tomorrow, you're going to see how we can have a deceptive resolution where we resolve to 6, but let's just stick to 1 for now. So of course, we're still in root position for today, so that 5 in the bass is going to go up to 1, and we can keep this other 5 right there. And this is the advantage of doubling the root in 4 parts. You will find that when you actually spell out all the members in 4 parts, that it is very, very difficult to resolve to a completed 1 without having some parallel problems going on there. All right, so in this video, I introduced you to the 5/7 chord in SATB texture. And we used a variety of key signatures. We went through quite a few. We wrote incomplete dominant 7th chords. This was when we wrote it in 3-part harmony, or if we wrote it in 4-part harmony, omitting the 5th. And we also resolved the dominant 7th chord to 1. In class, we are going to analyze the dominant 7th chord in literature. We're going to write full progressions. In this video, we only resolved it. We're going to practice approaching it and resolving it, and then just to build our ability to evaluate and analyze, we're going to compare 5/7 to 5 and see how they function, how they sound, and that's where we are. So thank you for watching. Make sure you take the quiz before class.